So, episode 73. Here we are.
Yep, counting them down, baby.
Counting them down is right.
So tonight, we've got a couple of things to go over. First of all, I want to talk about the update on the Iran war and actually the talks that JD Vance went with the help of Pakistan.
Yeah.
21 hours they talked. And now Trump ordered a full blockade, so we're going to see why the whole world is on edge because of this.
Yeah.
And then, some of the loudest voices in media right now are turning on Trump for some of the things that he said, and we'll discuss that.
Well, when you say on media, you're saying podcasters, major podcasters.
Major podcasters, Tucker Carlson, Candy Owens, Megyn Kelly, those people,
Right.
Alex Jones. I'm going to show you some clips from them too, but, a lot of these people are turning on him just because of what he's saying, not necessarily his policies, but we'll get into it. And then, welcome home. Artemis 2 crew came through the atmosphere at 7,000 degrees, and
That was unreal. That was really
spot on.
great. It was really great.
Really good. So we're going
And
to
the
give you
camaraderie that they had and everything
Yeah.
was so good.
so we're going to give you some details on that, and hope you enjoy the show. Like and subscribe, and also if you're watching on the TV, if you hit your button up where you can see the caption menus, there's a little shopping bag, and we got some products. If you click there, you help us out. So, but like and subscribe, we appreciate it.
So,
So what do we got, champ?
over the weekend of April 11th and 12th, the United States and Iran held historic face-to-face peace negotiations in Pakistan. The talks were mediated by Pakistan and lasted approximately 21 hours. Do you imagine sitting there for 21 hours?
Yeah.
I just can't. It's unbelievable. 21 hours?
Because they're waiting for somebody to give in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All right, I had enough.
I mean, 21 hours. My God. The goal was to turn a fragile 2-week ceasefire into a lasting agreement to fully end the ongoing U.S.-Iranian war. Key issues on the table included Iran's nuclear program, which they've been saying for years, for
Right.
45 plus years. And when we say nuclear program, especially uranium enrichment and any path to a nuclear weapon.
See, and that's also a little bit of a clash that's going on too, because they're saying that they want to enrich uranium for nuclear power, but we don't believe them. So, and once it gets to a certain point, that's when it becomes. It has to be enriched over 60, 70% for it to be worth for nuclear
For a weapon.
bomb, for a weapon. Yeah.
Reopening and control of the Strait of Hormuz.
Yep,
Which
definitely. We
You've
need
been
that.
hearing this in the news and everything. This little, roughly, it's about 30 miles long from UAE to Iran.
That's unfortunately, run by Iran.
Right,
And 20% of the world oil runs through there.
right.
I know
And
China's.
China is their biggest customer.
Yeah.
We really don't need the oil. We
No,
make enough
no.
oil here.
Right.
And broader regional issues such as Iran's support for militant groups and sanctions relief.
Yeah. So they were led by JD Vance. Let me run the clip real quick. This is JD Vance after the 21 hours of talking.
21 hours.
And so hold on, watch this clip.
Well, good morning, everybody. And let me say a couple of notes of appreciation. First of all, to the Prime Minister of Pakistan and to Field Marshal Munir, who were both incredible hosts. And whatever shortcomings in the negotiation, it wasn't because of the Pakistanis, who did an amazing job and really tried to help us and the Iranians bridge the gap and get to a deal. We have been at it now for 21 hours, and we've had a number of substantive discussions with the Iranians. That's the good news. The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement, and I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America. So we go back to the United States having not come to an agreement. We've made very clear what our red lines are, what things we're willing to accommodate them on, and what things we're not willing to accommodate them on. And we've made that as clear as we possibly could, and they have chosen not to accept our terms.
The U.S. delegation, which was led by JD Vance, Vice President JD Vance, along with a special envoy, Steve Witkoff, and also Jared Kushner, Iran was represented by senior officials, including the parliamentary speaker Mohammed Bagher
Yeah.
Ghalibaf.
I was going to say, you did better than I did. I have no idea what that
But
is.
after 21 hours, the outcome, they didn't get anything.
Yeah, no
Nothing.
deal.
No deal. No deal was made. Talks ended without an agreement. Vice President Vance, as you saw in the clip, stated at press conference in Islamabad,
Yep.
and you saw what he said, and it's the same. It's a shame because Iran's side blamed the breakdown on excessive U.S. demands.
Yeah,
I
and they
think
also
we hold
say,
the cards, not them.
yeah, and they also said that we're changing. We're pushing the goalposts back.
Right.
In other words, we're changing what we want, and we're adding more to it. And they don't want to agree.
Right.
They're not
And
agreeing.
failure by the U.S. to build trust. Iranian officials emphasized their right to peaceful nuclear energy and control over the Strait of Hormuz. They claimed the two sides were inches away from a memorandum of understanding some points, but not on the core issues.
Yeah. So let's talk about this for a second. First of all, like we said, 21 hours. I mean,
Well,
well, I would love to be a fly on the wall to hear how they talk like that. No, how do they negotiate this? They just say, okay, here's 10 bullet points, and then they cross off 4 that they don't like.
I don't know.
I mean, how does it?
It sounds like they probably got into a little screaming match back and forth. I don't know. I don't know how that would go down.
And do they? And I don't know if you know this, but do they speak English or do they have the
They have an
translators?
interpreter. I think they have an interpreter. Absolutely, an interpreter has got to
Really?
be in the room.
So who's to say the
Well,
interpreters?
I would have to say the Pakistanis. They probably understand them,
on both sides.
but they also understand English.
Okay. Because that's a big deal. I mean,
Oh, it is
you
a big deal.
I remember many years ago, and I don't know who was president at the time. There was some translator who said something completely wrong,
Oh,
and it meant something different in their language or something. Everybody was all offended.
oh, yeah.
You know. So what happened? I mean, after that, and no deal, Trump put a blockade
Right.
on it. Now, how does that work?
Okay.
What do you mean blockade?
Let me explain.
He's going to explain.
Iran was basically doing a blockade on all ships that were coming out of
On
it.
all ships.
So
Okay.
Trump, the way he is, you're going to do a blockade. I'm going to come in. I'm going to blockade you. That's basically what he did, and he put in 2 battleships that came in, destroyers.
Okay.
Came in, did some underwater mining, trying to figure out where the mines are underneath
Okay, a
the
minesweeper
water.
type thing?
Minesweeper thing.
Yeah.
And he came out and says, we're blocking any ships that are coming from Iran that are going out to oil, if it's oil going out to other countries. But if the ships come from different countries, he's letting them through. Now,
So
This
he-
is the
so
brilliance of
basically he
Trump.
said, "I'm rubber,
I know
you're glue."
you're kind of going down on Trump because of the other 3
Well,
people
yeah,
that or the
3,
other
there's-
4
There's
people.
tons of people.
Well, but this is brilliant.
I'm
If you
rubber,
think
you're
about-
glue. Whatever you say, bounce off me, sticks back to you.
But listen to this.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
He's
It's
doing
brilliant.
this
Yeah.
today.
my
Oil
mind
went
is
down.
open.
It went down. Didn't go down a lot, but it did go down. The stock market went up, and ships are starting to go through.
Yeah, they had 35.
And
days. Yeah.
and the Iranians, they realize that this is going to hurt them because there's no money coming in.
Right.
So
It's all
they
about
announced
money.
today
Mhm.
they like to start talking again. Something came
And-
over.
Hold on, we got something on the
Something-
wire here. 1 second.
De-escalation drive. Iran weighs Strait of Hormuz shipping pause to avoid clash with U.S.
Okay, say that again.
Okay, Iran weighs Strait of Hormuz
Hormuz.
Strait of Hormuz shipping pause to avoid clash. So they're basically backing out. They're backing.
So
down.
they're stopping their
It's-
ships from even coming across of our guys.
In other words,
So they're thinking about
they're
stuff.
thinking about going with us, agreeing
Okay.
with us. That's the word I'm trying to find. Agreeing.
Okay, yeah, they're weighing their options now.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying. Okay.
Because they know that this is, if this blockade really works, they're going to be up Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
And here's the other big deal. Some of these countries are going to start buying oil from us because we're the largest producer right now.
So they're
So
coming
think
to the
about
Gulf
that.
of
Think
America.
about
to
that.
get gas.
Right. Yeah, to
mean,
get
get
gas. Yeah.
oil.
To get oil. Think about that, though, what Trump did.
Listen up.
So we're going to be selling oil to these companies. I mean, to these other countries. So we're doing that. We're
Right.
isolating Iran. They're going to be begging for us to help them.
Yeah, you hope.
I think so. I think eventually it will happen. Oh, stop being a Megyn Kelly
Well-
or whatever his name is, Tucker Carlson. Stop.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. You know, if this all works out, we could all say, nah, 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 nah. Like he's going to say that. He's going to say, see, I told you.
He will.
Nah, 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 nah. But I got to tell you, though, some of the shit that he's been saying has really ticked off a lot of people, including me. I got to be honest. This is like ridiculous. So, one of the two things that he said recently was that a whole civilization will die tonight. Now,
Doesn't mean what you think.
and that's what you say. But the point of the matter is, you got a president of the United States who says this shit, and people hate it.
You are a blabbermouth.
They don't like it.
It's called strength.
Tucker Carlson
Oh,
said it was the comment was vile on every level. It was a war crime, he's a moral crime, and all this other stuff. This thing with the whole wipe out a whole civilization. Now, whether he means it or not, I think it's bullshit. I think he should not be saying this kind of stuff. The other thing he does, he threatened to target Iran's infrastructure. The Strait of Hormuz was not open. So now you're coming after civilian stuff. You're coming after electricity. You're coming after this. You're coming after that. And people are just not happy. Megyn Kelly lashed out at him about that comment about a whole civilization is going to die. You just, all I'm saying is in that position, I don't think he should, whether he means it or not. And I know you say he doesn't mean it. Of course not.
no, he
And
doesn't
it's a
mean
way
it. But
to,
it's called strength. It's called fear. And he's hoping the people will uprise and say, "Oh my
Yeah,
God,
well,
look what he's coming.
yeah.
We got to get rid of these."
well, the only people
mullahs."
uprising are these people, including Alex Jones.
Oh, who cares?
And let me I got to show you a video. This is Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owen, and Alex Jones. Tucker, Megyn, Candace Owen, and Alex Jones. Here's a clip of the four of them I put together real quick. Just bashing Trump back after what he said on some of this crap.
It is maybe the most real thing this president has ever done, and also the most revealing. On every level, it is vile on every level.
You can't take money and things and stuff with you when you go, just your soul. And you sold yours for what? Another gilded ballroom? Let me be perfectly clear when I say this. Charlie Kirk, he died free. You will most certainly die a slave. Okay? You are in chains right now, and the entire world can see that perfectly. At best, what you can hope for in this moment is that maybe one day, upon the college campuses that you so deeply cherish, they'll teach all about your now tarnished legacy as the perfect modern day example of Plato's allegory of the cave.
Now, as you can imagine, that post did not go over well with the Iranians or with many Americans. I mean, I don't know about you, but I am sick of this shit. I'm sick of it. Can't he just behave like a normal human? I mean, honestly, like the president, 3D chess, shut up. Shut up about that shit.
I'm just going to scorch earth Trump to get him back on track. Only way to do it is to go after him viciously. You've already shed all over me. And if you try to rub it in, I just at that point, I don't care anymore. So if you think I've been coming after you, if you think that I'm trying to get clicks by attacking you so the Democrats that don't buy anything from me and don't like me want to put me in jail, if you think I've been on your ass, say one more thing. One more thing out of your mouth. And Laura Loomer, send him this, okay? One more thing. When I've gone through hell back in your ass because you were the lesser of two evils, then I'm going to show you how to cow eat the cabbage.
The other thing is and look, Marjorie Taylor Greene, we know she turned a long time ago. But she's another one, wants the 25th Amendment. We got a Republican, Ron Johnson, same thing. He's broke with Trump over the threats of bombing a complete civilization infrastructure. I don't think I want that either. You got Lisa Murkowski. She's another Republican that criticized Trump for his rhetoric and the way he talks about this stuff. And then there's another Republican. These are Republicans. Say that he does not support the destruction of a whole civilization, and that is not who we are. And that's my point right there. That's not who we should be representing, that we're going to bomb them into the Stone Age. We're going to bomb them. He's making, I'm telling you what he's doing. By saying this stuff, whether it's real or not, whether you believe it or not, it's hurting him in the midterms. And then we're screwed.
Oh, that I agree. I don't think whether he does it or not. I think the midterms are going to bite us in the ass. I do.
Yeah.
I don't care how good this comes out. I still say in the midterms, people are going to vote Democrat. They are.
Now he does have some time, not much.
Oh, he does. He does.
But everybody's got to put their hat in by mid-May, if they're going to do this election in November. So, and then you got Kamala out there,
Who?
Kamala Harris,
Oh.
out there saying that she might run in 2028 again, which makes all of this mean nothing. Because if she gets in, forget it.
Yeah. You know who else is threatening? She didn't say it,
Yeah,
but it's happening. Is Hillary Clinton. She's appearing on all these shows, CNN,
yeah, I've seen that.
ABC News, this, that, 60 Minutes, and she's starting to show up. She hasn't said it, but she's starting to show up on all these shows.
Yeah.
I bet you any amount of money she puts her hat in the ring.
Well, just getting back to the rhetoric. If this guy, now, I guess what I'm trying to say is, let's say all this works out. The Iran thing is great. Gas comes down. The economy's fixed in the next 4 or 5 months, whatever it is, before the midterms. The rhetoric alone of this crappy speaking that he does. Now, he criticized the Pope. Now, the Pope is a Catholic. He doesn't believe in killing anybody
The Pope
for any
picked
reason.
on him first. The Pope said something to him.
Yes, he did.
Trump
I know.
didn't go after the Pope. The Pope went after him.
Right.
And then Trump reacted. That's the way Trump is.
But
I think you're overreacting here. What he did was the things that he was saying, it's through strength. Try to scare people, especially the people in Iran, so they would rise up and try to kick this regime out of their country.
and they're not rising up.
It might
Not
happen.
yet. Not yet.
This blockade, if they don't do the talk now, they just announced today they were going to do a talk. They were going to sit down again and negotiate.
I hope so.
But if this blockade, if they don't and this blockade works, you're going to see a lot of people over there starving because they need the oil. That's what they live on.
Right.
It's either that or sand that they
That's,
live.
yeah, it's their whole economy.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, if it all works out and he stops the rhetoric talk, the stupid talk about killing people and civilizations, he could be liked again. Some people compared this Trump to the old Trump. This was, I think it was Alex Jones mentioned it. Yeah, that the new Trump is just a rotting husk of nothing compared to the old Trump.
Rotting husk.
Yeah, rotting husk. You believe that? But
Let me see what Alex Jones said. Stated no longer supports Trump, calling the new Trump a rotting husk
yeah,
under dynamic influences.
I just think he needs to cut it down a little bit. That's all I'm saying, and make this work out. If all works out, then then he can.
Right, and then this will all be over with. Nobody will even remember it. Just
But,
noise.
but and I don't want to get on this too long, but I got to tell you, even Easter Sunday, kids are there at the White House and they're rolling the eggs and they're doing this, and he's got to freaking talk about the Iran and how they have no navy and we bombed them to oblivion and they got no this and they got no that. That's not a place for that.
Did somebody ask him about it?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I bet you they did. Some reporter probably did.
Yeah, to ruin the Easter thing for all the
Well,
kids.
what are you gonna do? I mean,
The kids don't want to listen to that rhetoric either. I don't know. I just sometimes if I just don't listen to him and look at his policies, maybe we're better off that way. I don't know, but he's really digging a grave for himself, though. I think.
oh, I think this Iran thing is going to work out. I think gas is going to come down quite a bit. I think the tariffs are going to kick in. The economy is going to get real good. And then when the midterms come, it's not going to matter. People are going to vote Democrat.
So you don't think it's going to matter anyway?
I don't think it's going to matter anyway. And he's going to be a lame duck for 2 years and trying to fight off impeach.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Let's talk about that for a second.
Sure.
What have the Democrats brought forward that is a different plan?
Nothing.
Nothing.
That's the way they are. They criticize, but there's no. I like somebody to say to them, "Well, what would you do now if you were in Iran? What would you do?"
Yeah.
They'll say, "Well, we would have never got in there. It's a great country. We love that country. I mean, we shouldn't have to bomb them." Come on, they've been saying it for 45 years. They
know.
got to get rid of them.
How many people they killed already? How
Oh, my
many
God,
citizens? They blew up ships. And
They showed a girl. I think she was on Fox News or News Nation this morning. She was born in Iran with her family and everything. She left. They got her out of there. Oh, she was about 18 or 19 years old. Before that, she was married at 12. Somebody said you're going to marry. Her father said you're going to marry this person here.
Right, they point him out.
And she married this person, 12 years old. That person abused her, told her also, you got to listen to me, blah blah blah. Well,
Typically,
she wind up was able to leave, and she's in this country now. And
That's
you should have heard
typical
her.
how
She was saying, "I want the country wiped off the face of the earth."
Yeah, well, I don't doubt that. Because the women there get treated terribly. I mean, it's like
do.
the Stone Age back then. I mean, that's
My take on the whole thing is I think they need
regime change.
regime change. That's what I think. Because if they don't change it, and they come, let's say they open up the Strait of Hormuz.
How long is this going to last?
Bring Iranian stuff, whatever the nuclear stuff. How long is it going to last? Then we're going to say, okay, they want restitution for some of the things that have been blown up. They want like $6 billion, which I don't know if Trump's going to do that. And then in 10 years from now, they're going to be back to the same old situation.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's what we did.
They have no rights over there, the people. The people have no rights. They can't say anything. They can't do anything.
Right.
Nothing. Women got to wear burqas, whatever you call them. They got to walk 10 feet behind their husband.
Yeah, I know. I talked about that. They're treated terribly. You think, women complain about their boyfriends here.
Oh, I know.
Are you kidding? You got it made, girl.
Yeah.
But it's a tough situation we're in right now. But you did say earlier that they want to come back to the table, and you know what? Frankly,
that came over the wire today that they want to go back to the negotiating table because they know this blockade, which Trump did, it's working, and they're scared because they know they're not going to get oil.
Yeah. Now oil was up around 110.
100. It was. I think it closed at 92 today.
92. Okay,
95
so
or
that's a
something
little
like that.
down again.
Yeah.
So, and how many mines do they really have there? They're all talk too.
Also, too, all this talk about the UN and all that.
Yeah.
Supposedly today, Britain said that they're going to send some minesweepers in to help.
Okay, good.
So.
And on the way here, I heard that China is going to help.
Oh, that's good.
Too. They want to, because they get most of their oil too
Yeah,
through
that's
there.
right.
So they want to help open this thing up. And
They could buy it from us.
Yeah, well, and that's why our gas prices go up. It's a global commodity, right? So we know that. If we were on our own, with our own market, then it'd be something different. Gas would be $1.45.
Do you think he listened to Bibi Netanyahu? That this is really Bibi's war, like some of these idiots are saying? Who pushes Trump around? Trump doesn't get pushed around.
No, but maybe he asked, and Trump always had Iran on his mind anyway, even from the first term.
He said it even before he was president.
I know.
He used to say it.
So then all he needed was a little nudge by Netanyahu, and he's like, yeah, let's go in. I don't think he listened to him. I think this was on Trump's mind the whole time, and with him going in, it's not all the U.S. Right. They made it a joint venture, so I think it was just worked out better.
Did you hear about this Swalwell guy, Eric Swalwell?
I know,
now,
yes.
Did you hear about the new allegation?
New one, I heard it tonight.
This guy's in trouble.
Yes.
It's not just somebody random saying, oh, he abused me or whatever he did or he touched me or something. Now this woman is saying he raped her. He drugged her and he raped her. And supposedly this lady's got pictures. She's got receipts from the hotel because it happened in 2018.
Right.
And cameras saw them going into a room, and there was another person too. So it was him and another guy ganging up on her, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And somebody was recording it.
This
guy's in trouble.
I'm not talking about this particular incident. I'm not talking about anything specific. But when does anybody take responsibility for themselves? So let me just say, and forget who this is. I'm going to make this up. There's a girl out there meets this high-powered kind of guy. She gets drunk. He asks her to go up to the room. She goes up to the room. 2 years later, 5 years later, she's claiming that she was taking advantage of her.
I agree. I understand what you're saying.
You understand what I'm saying? I'm not girls.
Well,
I love you girls. I love everybody.
Right.
And I'm not saying anything, yes, this is terrible.
But why come out with it now? He's
Why come
about
on
to
now?
be. He
That's
was.
why.
He was heading. He was leading in the Democratic poll for
Yep.
to be governor of California.
Right. So could this be?
And now he's-
I'm not saying it's not real, but nobody said anything until maybe somebody nudged these girls too that said, "Hey, he's going to be governor if we don't find something." So you don't have anything in your closet when you run for anything.
Well, he was the biggest one that was criticizing Kavanaugh.
Oh,
He
right.
got- oh, he
Yes,
was.
that's
He was
right.
the one leading the whole charge
Yeah,
to get Kavanaugh out of there.
right.
So I don't know.
And Kavanaugh's situation, that was ridiculous.
That was ridiculous.
They
That was
paid
really
her,
ridiculous.
and she was saying all this.
But
crap.
this lady today supposedly has pictures,
Yeah.
receipts,
Yep.
everything, and I don't know.
You just can't. You can't. You know, I remember working in my old company. It was every quarter we had training on this.
No, we did
Can't
one.
say anything.
Yeah, at the dealership, we had 1 year. We had to do a sexual harassment
Yeah.
and discrimination.
Yeah. Discrimination. That was a big
Right.
one. DEI.
Yep.
You know, and it
But
was
talk
drilled
about
in those.
fall from grace. This guy was ready to be the next governor of California. He's a congressman, and now he's nothing because he bailed
Nothing.
out. He said he's leaving
Yeah.
Congress. I mean,
And,
wow.
and I'm sure his family's broken up and the
Oh,
whole
yeah.
thing.
he's- Well, didn't he have some affair with some Chinese lady?
I have no
Fang
idea.
Fang. They called her Fing Fing Fang.
Yeah, and
Fang.
she might have been a spy or something.
yeah.
That was way back. But I remember even at my company, there were 2 head guys that were let go because of inappropriate behavior with women. So it's a serious thing, and you know these girls, nobody should be taken advantage of. I don't care who you are. It's not a good thing.
No.
And girls, I'm going to say this because I'm not going to go, back on what I said. But if you're in that situation and something happens, come forward right away.
Well, they get scared. I think it's a.
Well,
it's a
well,
big
yeah, of
deal.
course they're
That's it.
scared, but
And I think maybe this lady. I understand what you're saying. Why come up with it now? But maybe this lady that came out today
sure,
is like, hey, now I can get him because this guy sounds like he's really going down, and I could really take advantage of him.
well, I
Whatever.
think, yeah, and I think she did say somewhere. I thought I heard somebody say that she said she was afraid to do it before,
Right.
but now that other people are coming forward, so is she.
Right.
Same thing with the Bill Cosby thing.
But the difference here is this girl
Yeah,
has
has
got
evidence.
receipts, evidence,
Yeah.
photos, the whole 9 yards.
That's a problem. You're not getting out of that one.
Yeah. Oh, he's in trouble. This guy is looking at jail time probably.
Yeah.
What a shame. Let's talk about something nice.
Who? What? Me?
Artemis.
Artemis. Return
Artemis
home. Welcome
2.
home, Artemis 2. Hey, before I go any further, Jared Isaacman, if you're listening, I sent you multiple emails and multiple messages on Instagram. So anybody out there who's watching this that might know him, or would you let him know we want him on our podcast? We live 15 minutes from his house, and we want to go to his house, or he can come to us into our beautiful studio. But we want to talk to him.
Yep.
So Artemis 2 comes back. Now, before we get into this, I got to read something to you. So now, the first thing, the negative people. Now, we already heard, the basket that came away from the rocket as it was taking off, they were in there and they never left the Earth. All right?
Is that right?
Conspiracy already, right? Just like the Earth is flat, my ass. So,
Your ass is flat?
yeah, my ass, I got a flat ass. So now, and now these people, the taxpayer money, why are we going to the moon? The taxpayers' money, and all this screaming and yelling that's going on because this is what they said about Apollo. This is what they said about the space station. This is what they said about the space shuttle, all that stuff, right? Because even Mr. Isaacman said that, yeah, your taxpayer money is getting used, but it's getting used for an incredible thing. But let me read this to you. Ready? NASA Artemis rocket, Artemis 2, cost roughly $4.5 billion. It's a lot of money, taxpayer money, right?
Yep. Yep.
The planning began in 2017 for this particular mission. It took 4 passengers, 695,000 miles around the moon. In comparison, Gavin Newsom's bullet train
Yeah.
cost $126 billion.
Yep.
To this day. The planning began in 1996. It has taken 0 passengers, 0 miles.
Yeah.
So when you complain about your tax
And
money,
he wants to be the president of the United States.
when you talk about your tax money, look at the tax money from California alone on this thing. It's still not running.
Okay,
We spent
let me
$4.5
ask you
billion.
this. Let me ask you this. Let's satisfy this question of why. Why spend all the money? Why go to the moon? For what reason?
Well, the long-term goal, and this comes back from Carl Sagan, that if we don't find another place to live, eventually we will not exist. So if we don't colonize Mars, let's say,
Right.
permanently,
Yeah.
which is the goal here, we could be wiped out with a meteor 100,000 years from now or whatever. We may not see Star Trek days or whatever. So we are a single species planet, right? A planet we're just a single species planet right now, nowhere. The moon is just a stepping stone to try to get to Mars on an easier basis. Not easy. It's nothing's easy. But they've already got people. There was I'm sorry I forgot his name. He was on Fox News, and he developed a way to make bricks out of moon dust so they can build these bases on the moon, because that's what's coming first. Okay? Once that's done and they build enough, they're going to have launch pads there that can take us to Mars, because there's less gravity, a lot less energy used to get there if we shoot off from the moon instead of from the Earth. Okay? That's basically what it is. In the 60s, 69, 70, up to 1972, when we did Apollo, it was more of a space race. That's what everybody called it. Space race.
Because Kennedy, what he said, I want a man on the moon before the 60s.
Right. So there was a reason to go, because the Chinese were trying to get there first. The Russians were trying to get there first. And Russia, if you remember, the Sputnik satellite was the first thing in orbit ever. And everybody was all panicking because, I got this thing going up. We kind of have the same thing going on now. Japan, China, and Russia are all trying to get to the moon, back to the moon before we are. Right? Now, we were to the moon 6 times already. And then we haven't done anything in 52 years.
Right.
It's crazy. For as long as we've been friends, we have not been on the moon.
That's right. Yeah.
So this latest one came back. They made a perfect reentry. After they separated, the video is going to run in the background here. The capsule separated from the main service module. And they had to do a couple of slight adjustments. Remember we talked last week about the angle?
Right.
Skipping off or burning up, whatever. So they did last-minute turns, and they landed. They came in perfectly. They were roughly 40 miles off the coast of San Diego. They came in, splashed down to 8:07. After a mission duration of 9 days, 1 hour, and 7. This is what gets me about NASA. It's so precise.
Right.
9 days, 1 hour, 32 minutes. They covered 695,000 miles. That is just nuts.
I know it is.
4 of them came back, and they were so excited to be back.
Camaraderie was just unreal.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah, and they each got up and talked a little bit about their family and getting back. And I can't imagine, especially when they went around the backside of the moon, there's no Earth. You don't see Earth anymore.
Right.
Can you imagine? That's your home planet. I should have had the names, but the girl said, Christine said that when they looked back at the Earth, and it was just, she realized that that's our team right there.
Right, the whole Earth.
The whole Earth.
Except for the
nothing else.
Iranians, but yes.
And it's hanging there in the middle of space.
Right.
We are, it's
She actually started crying.
Yeah.
She was crying.
Yeah. And if you saw, look for a picture from Voyager 1 looking back at the Earth. And it's a picture that comes up in Google all the time. And you see billions of stars, and you see this one little tiny blue pin, and that's Earth.
Yeah.
And you don't realize that we're nothing when it
nothing.
comes to the universe.
But the technology of the spacecraft it was called the Artemis 2, right? The capsule that they were in.
Yeah.
Oh my God! And now the transmissions that we saw, it was so clear with HD and this. Oh my God! Compared to 1969, it was unbelievable. Even with the Nikon cameras, they were showing Nikon cameras, And with the cameras that they used back in '69, which actually were medium format cameras, Hasselblad and all that, today's cameras were so much better. The lenses are better,
Yeah.
megapixels are better. They had so much technology, but the toilet didn't work.
Yeah, that's right.
And then when they splashed down, the phone didn't work to talk to the guys in the speedboats so they could open up the door.
Go around the friggin' moon and the toilet didn't work.
Right.
So the girl, Christine said, that is the most important thing on a spaceship that there could be. Because they were complaining about odors and they were complaining it was cold. There was a lot of things they complained about. But this was all a test mission to see how this, and Orion is the spacecraft itself.
Right.
And it did great. So they had, when they re-entered, was 5,000 degrees.
Yeah.
Because they re-entered at 25,000 miles per hour. Now,
Yep.
we talk about orbital stuff. Now, when the shuttle and other aircraft that are just in Earth orbit, they're only doing 15, 16,000 miles an hour. So when they come in, it's a lot, it's not cooler, but it's a lot, a lot less friction on the spacecraft.
Right.
And they had this thing. They were a little bit worried because the first Artemis rocket that only did around the Earth and came in, there were pop marks and scratches and different things.
And that wasn't manned.
No, that was an unmanned test flight. Now, there were, and this reminds me of my rocketry stuff that I do, right? When I fly, I just go up and down, a lot like the very first Mercury missions, the first Alan Shepard, 15 minutes in space.
Yeah.
Just went up, comes around, comes down. This is what Blue Origin does. The guy from Amazon takes 7 people who are billionaires and they pay to get on, and they go up and they're weightless for 5 minutes and they come around. I do the same thing, but only in a 7,000 to 8,000 feet altitude, not 150 miles, whatever. But what caught my attention was drogue shoots. So when I shoot a rocket up, it goes way up high, and for it not to drift, I blow out a small drogue chute, and it stabilizes the rocket.
What's it called?
Drogue.
Drogue?
So like dragon, it's like it just stabilizes the rocket and lets it fall fairly quickly, but stable.
Yeah.
Until it gets to about 1,000 feet, then I blow out a main chute that's, 15 feet, and then boom, slows down. So what got me was when they were coming in, kind of the same thing. 2 drogue chutes were deployed first, and it stabilizes the ship, and it comes down, starts to slow it down. And then there's 3 pilot chutes that pull the main chutes out when they get to a certain thing.
Right.
So you got 2 drogues, you got 3 pilots, and then the 3 mains. And those babies,
They were beautiful.
just open it up like this real slow so it doesn't, jerk everything.
And tell me this, when it landed in the water, you had all these speedboats coming with Navy divers and everything. I heard that they actually jumped into the water and looked underneath where the
heat shield.
tiles were just to see if there was any damage
Yeah,
while it was floating in the water.
Yeah.
And then, did you see that? They made a raft
Yeah.
and they put it around it. Then, did you see
It was called a front porch.
Well, that went around the whole thing, right?
Yeah, to stabilize.
And that was the one that they showed back at the space headquarters or wherever, and maybe in Houston or in Cape Kennedy.
Right.
They were showing you how they were making that thing and how they were tying it. All the divers had to do that.
All the divers, yeah. And
that stabilized it. That thing that they made underneath it stabilized it from rocking.
Yeah.
And it was so they could
doesn't
get
turn
out
upside
easier.
down,
Yeah.
and they blew the balloons on the top of it in case they tipped over, and
Right.
it would right them again. And when you were saying that, so the drogues and then the main parachutes, and it slowed down to 20 miles an hour from, what did I say?
25,000.
25,000
miles an hour.
To 20.
To 20.
Oh, crap. In like a few minutes.
Right.
It's just incredible. Recovery involved a joint NASA and U.S. Navy team aboard USS John Murtha.
Right.
Navy divers assisted. The crew was extracted via helicopter one at a time, and they underwent initial medical checks right on the ship right away before flying back to NASA, where they went under a full medical check. This marked the first Navy recovery of a NASA crewed mission since 1975.
Wow.
Apollo Soyuz mission.
Yeah.
That was that joint venture that we had with Russia for 2 minutes before the space station came around.
Right.
So that was pretty cool. stuff. So they're back. They're home. Now, Artemis
3, which will be next year.
next year, 2027. That's
Now
correct.
they're going to the moon.
No.
Yes, they're going to go to the moon. They're not going to land on the moon. They're
No.
going to the moon with SpaceX to do a joint thing. Oh, it's not going around the moon?
I don't think so. Here's what's happening.
I thought that's what it was.
They are doing the joint.
But
land-
around the Earth?
Yeah.
Oh.
From what I understand, they're going to stay out in the Earth's orbit, and they're going to practice docking and undocking and docking and undocking and moving people and doing all that.
And
with-
SpaceX is involved with that.
supposedly either SpaceX or Blue Origin. They don't know yet. One of those two companies are going to have the lander built.
Wow.
Blue Origin saying they got a better lander than SpaceX. So now there's a big thing going on. Who's going to land these guys?
Right.
And then you have Acme. They're coming in.
Well, Wile E. Coyote.
Well, the Coyote. Acme's got one. I got a lander for you.
That was my favorite cartoon.
I love that cartoon. Acme roller skates. Acme this. It was great.
Beep, beep.
Yeah. So maybe the next artist will see Acme on there. So Artemis 3, supposedly, and I could be wrong, but check me out, is going to stay in orbit and test all these docking maneuvers and all that. And they did that way back when. It was Gemini program. Even before Apollo started, they launched 2 Gemini spacecrafts, and they practiced docking and doing all this stuff and spacewalks. But Artemis 4,
That's the biggie.
that's the biggie.
That's going to go to the moon.
Yeah, and land. And we're supposedly we'll have people on the moon in 2028, which is not that far away.
But
and
they're not
time
leaving
flies.
anybody there. No.
No, of course
They're
not.
just going to
No.
put the flag.
They're going to initially do the flag, initially do the walk. They're initially going to leave some equipment behind.
Yeah.
Um,
And then what
and then
after
they're going
that?
to start
what's-
robotics, which will start building these.
So they're
places.
going to send robotics to the moon?
Yeah, they're going to have
Wow.
robotics help
That's
out.
going to be more like 2030.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be, what if they find a monolith?
Yeah.
That's where they found the first monolith was on the moon.
They did.
I
Yep.
saw the funniest. I got to tell you this. I saw the funniest. Somebody did an AI video. 2 astronauts are on the moon, and they're digging a hole with their hands, a big hole. And then one guy comes and there's a big box that says Epstein files, and they're burying it. Mission accomplished. That was pretty funny. I like that one.
Epstein files. Unbelievable.
So, guys, that's about a wrap for me.
Yeah, I think we're
Yeah.
probably a long time, right?
Yeah, we're about 45 minutes in, so that's
Wow.
good.
Yeah.
Good show.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody. Like and subscribe, please. Our subscribers are flying. I mean,
Yeah.
we really are going up. Last week's episode, check that out. That was really cool. We did a walkthrough of a $40 million cigar warehouse.
Not $40 million. 40
40 million cigar
cigars.
warehouse. Yeah, it was probably $100 million in there.
Yeah.
So that was a good one. Look back on that. And don't forget, we got that little shopping bag now. I'm going to offer some Artemis sweatshirts, things like that, that you can buy through our links, which will really help us out. But like, subscribe, hit that bell. Don't forget that bell, let you know when the new ones come out.
Yep.
We have our bell back. And I was going to play some Honeymooners clips, but I got erased on my stupid thing here. So.
Yeah, so you got to reboot them in there.
By the way, if you hit that shopping bag, I wanted to tell you some of the equipment that we use is in there.
Yeah, like the Rode mics.
Rode mics,
What
Mixcast
Mixcast
mixer here,
board
which is great.
mixer,
Yeah.
the Canon video camera that we use,
Yeah.
the lights. What's the lights called?
I don't know. There's some Japanese thing.
Oh.
So I don't know. Anyway, I'm Joe.
I'm Bill.
See ya.
I'll see you. Bye bye.
Great night.
Yep.
Bye.